So, do you want to be an entrepreneur? Absolutely, you should become one. But if you want to become one, perhaps you should have the right reasons to become one. So, I'm going to talk to you about four reasons which I believe are absolutely incorrect for anyone who aspires to be an entrepreneur. Now, there is nothing wrong in being one. In fact, it's a culture that is being promoted, and it's fantastic that as a nation, as the business world, we are getting more and more entrepreneurs entering the business world. But if you want to become an entrepreneur, then you got to become one for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. So, what do I mean by the wrong reasons? So, let me highlight four such reasons which I believe are not the right reasons for anyone who is aspiring to be an entrepreneur. Number one, I hate my job. Now, a lot of people want to be an entrepreneur not because they want to become one and add value through their products and services, but because they are in a hate relationship with their current job. Now, a lot of people do hate their current jobs. They don't like the work environment. They don't like the organization that they're working for. Sometimes they just hate the people around them. But is that the right reason for anyone who's wanting to be an entrepreneur? Because you haven't yet tested yourself. You don't really know if you're passionate to be an entrepreneur. So just because you hate your current job does not necessarily mean you love and you have the passion to be an entrepreneur. So it's very, very important for you to assess your current mental conditioning and ask yourself, am I wanting to be an entrepreneur because I sincerely feel that I can add value? Or is it just because I tend to hate my current job too much? And that is creating this thought process where I want to quit everything and jump into entrepreneurship full time. So I think a real assessment of your own capabilities is what you're required to do before you take the decision to step into entrepreneurship full time. Number two, the reason number two is even more fascinating, connected with the first reason, but I think this is far more personal. And the reason number two, some of you might have guessed it, is I hate my boss. Now, a lot of people want to become entrepreneurs because of the cool tagline, be your own boss. Now, when you be an entrepreneur, you become a boss of your own capabilities and what you do and how you dictate your time. But is that a good reason enough for you to try and be an entrepreneur? Well, again, if you hate your current boss for whatever reasons that might involve, then you got to reassess, are you happy with what you're doing? And if you're not happy with the kind of relationship that you have with your boss, then perhaps there are things that you can consider. For example, to start with, you can consider finding a new job. Or you might look for a new role in the same organization where you might consider having a different boss. Now, there are possibilities that you need to explore. There are opportunities that you need to create for yourself before you take that decision that you want to quit everything and you want to be an entrepreneur. Okay. Once again, I'm not discouraging you from becoming an entrepreneur, but if you're wanting to become one because you hate your current boss, is not a good enough reason to qualify yourself in order to become an entrepreneur. Number three, I want to get rich and I want to get rich quickly. So is it wrong to be rich? Absolutely not. I think it's a fascinating thought. Being rich means you can fulfill your desires, you can live a luxurious life, you can have a better standard of living, and you can do everything that you ever possibly wanted to do. But is that all about entrepreneurship? Now, there are a lot of things that entrepreneurship offers you, and along the journey, you also happen to become rich as a consequence of what you do. But having the sole desire to become rich and therefore taking entrepreneurship as a route to become rich, maybe not such a wise decision after all. Now, there are a lot of people who have grown rich, massively rich over the years because they took the journey of entrepreneurship. But there are also lots of stories where people haven't gained the kind of financial comfort that they were looking for, but they still continue to be entrepreneurs because they enjoy the journey. So although money is a very important ingredient, trying to become rich overnight and choosing the route of entrepreneurship to do that might not be such a wise thing to do after all. So for some people, it works. For some people, it doesn't work, where they get maximum value out of their entrepreneurship and therefore they become rich quickly. But there are also a lot of people who struggle and they find their way later and then they become rich. So if you're wanting to be rich quickly, then you need to have your second thoughts around that. Number four, I need to be an entrepreneur because someone else is being one. Now, how silly does that sound? Now, often when we take career choices, we are told by our teachers, sometimes by our good friends, and if you have parents to support you, even they will tell you that the choice of your career has to be dictated by what you love, not by what others love. Unfortunately, when it comes to entrepreneurship, a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs just because their close friends, their family members, or sometimes their relatives are getting into business, and therefore they feel suddenly that I too need to be an entrepreneur. Sometimes people believe that you need to become one, and therefore you decide to take a plunge. How wise is that? Now, the only reason you want to be an entrepreneur is because you want to be an entrepreneur, irrespective whether others are entrepreneurs or not. So the point is that just like in the choice of any career, even the choice of being an entrepreneur and standing on your own feet requires you to do deep introspection. You got to ask yourself, am I cut out for entrepreneurship? Is this something that I'm willing to do? Am I willing to take the risk? Am I willing to go ahead and do things that I've never done before? Am I ready to upskill myself and have all the skill sets essential for me to be a successful entrepreneur? Now, those are questions which are tough to answer. Those are questions which will require time, energy, and effort on your part before you actually get the right answer. So these are questions that cannot be ignored. So once again, the four reasons for which you should not consider being an entrepreneur is I hate my job, I hate my boss, I want to become rich quickly, and I want to be an entrepreneur just because someone else is becoming one. Now, once again, I would like to reiterate, I'm not trying to discourage you from being an entrepreneur, but if you want to become one, it's important that you become one for the right reasons and for the right desires. And once you think you have got the right reasons to be an entrepreneur, there's no stopping you, whether others believe in you or not, whether your family trusts you or not. If you have a deep desire deep within, then perhaps you might want to give it a shot. But along with being an entrepreneur comes the risk of being an entrepreneur. And you also got to do a thorough analysis of your own self in every aspect before you decide to take the plunge. So if you want to still become one, all the very best. I'm sure you will be a decent entrepreneur and add value to the society and the people in and around you. Thank you so much for listening.